Hey guys, and welcome back. Tonight we journey to the heart of the ancient world, the magnificent city of Rome, a civilization of marble temples, of triumphant legions, of law and of order. We see the majestic ruins and imagine a world of grandeur and power. But beneath the glory, beneath the marble and the gold, was a world of brutal, dangerous, and often fatal labor. A world where the comfort of the few was built on the suffering and the sacrifice of the many. Tonight, you are not a senator or a general. You are a worker, and you are about to be assigned some of the most dangerous jobs in history, jobs where the only retirement was an early grave. You will be lucky to survive the day. So, before we descend into the first dark mine, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy these quiet journeys into the past. As always, let me know in the comments where you are all listening from. All right, dim the lights, let the world outside fade away, and let us step back in time. The sun in the Spanish provinces is a merciless and unforgiving god. It beats down from a sky of brilliant, cloudless, and metallic blue, baking the dry, rocky landscape into a shimmering, dusty wasteland. You stand in a line with 100 other men, the hot iron of the shackle on your ankle, a constant burning reminder of your status. You are not a soldier. You are not a citizen. You are a damnatus ad metalla. You are a man condemned to the mines. Your crime is of no consequence now. Perhaps you are a thief. Perhaps you are a political dissident who spoke the wrong words against the emperor in a tavern. Or perhaps you were simply unlucky, a man in the wrong place at the wrong time. It does not matter. All of your past lives have been erased. All of your future lives have been condensed into this single, grim, and brutally short reality. The Roman guards, their armor glittering in the merciless sun, their faces set in masks of bored indifference, herd your shuffling, shackled procession forward. You are moving away from the squalid, dusty barracks where you spent the night, and towards the source of the empire's great wealth and the site of your own slow and certain death. You are walking towards the silver mine. You hear it before you see it. It is a low, muffled, and rhythmic sound that seems to come from deep within the earth itself. It is the sound of 1,000 iron hammers, a monstrous and slow heartbeat, the sound of a mountain being slowly and painfully devoured from within. Then you see it. It is not a grand architectural entrance. It is a wound, a dark, ugly, and jagged hole in the side of the mountain. A black mouth that seems to exhale a steady, cool, and foul-smelling breath. The ground around the entrance is a sterile, dead landscape, stained a sickly reddish-brown from the metallic runoff, a place where no plant will ever grow again. This is your new world, your tomb. The procession halts at the mine's entrance. The guards begin to unlock the long chain that connects you all, and the real work of the day begins. You are given your tools, not the fine, well-balanced tools of a skilled craftsman, but the crude, heavy, and brutal instruments of a condemned man. You are given a heavy, iron-headed sledgehammer. You are given a simple, sharpened iron pick. And you are given your only source of light, a small, pathetic-looking clay oil lamp with a simple linen wick. You know that the foul-smelling, low-grade oil it contains is all the light you will be allotted for the entire day. When it runs out, you will work in absolute terrifying darkness. The overseer, a grim-faced freedman with the hard, dead eyes of a man who has spent his entire life in this place, begins to shout the orders, herding you and the other men towards the black, gaping mouth of the mine. You pause at the threshold, and the difference between the two worlds is an absolute sensory shock. You step from the brilliant, blinding, and baking heat of the Spanish sun into a deep, profound, and subterranean cold. The air changes instantly. The hot, dry, and dusty air of the outside world is replaced by a thick, heavy, and damp atmosphere that smells of wet rock, of metallic dust, and of the ancient, undisturbed stillness of the deep earth. it is the smell of a crypt. And then you begin your descent. The mine is not a gentle sloping tunnel. It is a vertical, terrifying drop. The only way down is a series of crude, steep, and rickety wooden ladders, their rungs slick with a mixture of water and metallic slime. You sling your heavy tools over your shoulder. You hold your precious, flickering oil lamp in one hand, and you begin to climb down into the absolute, profound darkness. As you descend, the world of the sun, the world of the living, is erased. The great bright opening of the mine above you shrinks from a gaping mouth to a small, glowing eye, and then to a tiny, distant, and impossibly beautiful star. And then, as you reach the bottom of the first great ladder shaft, it is gone completely. The darkness is absolute. It is a physical presence, a thick, black, and suffocating blanket that presses in on you from all sides. The only light in the entire universe is the small, smoky, and pathetic flame of your own oil lamp, which casts a small, trembling, and deeply inadequate circle of light around you. The silence of the upper world is gone, replaced by the deafening, echoing, and relentless sound of the deep earth. The constant, rhythmic thump, thump, thump of the hammers in the distant tunnels, and the slow, steady, and terrible drip, drip, drip of water seeping through the rock, a sound that is a constant, quiet reminder that you are 1,000 feet beneath the mountain that is trying with all its immense and patient weight to crush you. A Roman overseer, his own lamp casting a monstrous, distorted shadow on the rough-hewn walls of the cavern, points you down a narrow, low-ceiling tunnel from which the sound of the hammering is louder. You take your first, hesitant step into the suffocating, horizontal darkness. The air here is thick with a fine, gritty dust that coats your tongue and makes your lungs burn with every breath. You are no longer a man. You are a mole, a worm, a creature of the deep, dark, and airless earth. Your new and final job has begun, and you know, with a cold, hollow, and absolute certainty, that the only way you will ever leave this place is as a corpse. You follow the overseer's pointing finger and step into the narrow, low-ceiling tunnel. The main cavern, which had seemed so dark and oppressive just a moment ago, now feels like a vast and airy cathedral in comparison. Here, in the working vein of the mine, the world shrinks to the size of a coffin. The tunnel is a raw, jagged wound in the rock, barely tall enough for you to kneel in, and only wide enough for a single man to work. The walls are a close, claustrophobic, and unforgiving presence, their sharp, rocky edges seeming to press in on you to steal the very air from your lungs. You must crawl on your hands and knees for 50 paces, the rough, damp floor scraping your skin, until you reach the end of the tunnel. This is your workplace. This is your world. The air here is a thick, hot, and almost unbreathable substance. It is completely stagnant, a dead pocket of air that has not moved since the day this tunnel was carved. It is heavy with the fine, sharp, and glittering dust of the quartz and the lead ore, a dust that you are now constantly inhaling. 1,000 tiny, sharp needles that are beginning to coat the inside of your lungs. And it smells. It smells of the hot, metallic scent of the ore itself, of the foul, greasy smoke from your small oil lamp, and of the raw, sour animal smell of your own terrified sweat. You are not entirely alone. You can see, further down the main shaft from which your own small tunnel branches, the faint, distant, and flickering lights of the other miners, each man a lonely, isolated star in this vast, subterranean darkness. You can hear the constant, muffled, and deeply miserable sound of their work, the rhythmic thump, 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 thump of 100 iron picks on 100 rock faces. You are given your task. You are to work this rock face. You can see the vein of the silver-bearing lead ore, the galena, a glittering, almost beautiful seam of dark metallic light in the rough gray granite. This is your target. This is the treasure of the Emperor. And it is your enemy. The work begins. There is no room to stand. You must perform your labor on your knees, your body contorted into a cramped, painful, and unnatural position, the low, jagged ceiling of the tunnel just inches from the top of your head. Your day is a simple, brutal, and unchanging rhythm. It is a two-part song of pure physical misery. First, you take up the heavy, short-handled iron pick. You begin to strike at the rock face. The space is too cramped for a full, satisfying swing. You must use short, jarring, and exhausting blows, chipping away at the hard, unyielding stone. The shock of each impact travels up the wooden handle and into your own arms, a painful, vibrating jolt that seems to shake your very bones. Chip, chip, chip. Your entire world narrows to the small 3-foot circle of rock illuminated by your flickering lamp and the sound of your own ragged, gasping breaths. Your muscles, which are still strong from your life in the world above, begin to burn. The air in the tunnel is so poor, so lacking in the stuff of life, that you are winded after only a dozen blows. Sweat pours from you, stinging your eyes, but it offers no relief, for there is no breeze here to cool you. After what feels like an hour of this relentless, jarring work, you have managed to loosen a single large chunk of the ore-bearing rock. Now comes the second part of the rhythm. You put down the pick and you take up your iron wedges and your sledgehammer. You find a crack in the rock. You drive the wedge in and you begin to strike it with the hammer. Crack, crack, crack. The sound in this small, enclosed space is deafening and explosive. Percussive assault that makes your ears ring. Finally, with a great, groaning sound, the chunk of rock breaks free and falls to the floor of the tunnel. This is the fruit of your labor. It is a single, heavy, and jagged piece of rock, perhaps the size of your own head. You must now break it into smaller, more manageable pieces and load it by hand into the rough wicker basket that lies beside you. When the basket is full, you crawl back a few feet and you pull on a rope, ringing a small, crude bell further up the tunnel. A few minutes later, you see a new kind of light in the darkness. It is the lamp of one of the mine's children, a small, skeletal boy of perhaps 10, his face old and weary, his body caked in the same gray metallic dust as yours. His job, his entire life, is to crawl through these coffin-sized tunnels, dragging the heavy baskets of ore back to the main shaft, where they will be winched to the surface. He says nothing. He simply attaches a rope to your basket and begins the long, slow, and agonizing process of dragging it away into the darkness. And you turn back to the rock face. You take up your pick, and the rhythm begins again. Chip, chip, crack, load. This is your entire existence. Time ceases to have any meaning. There is no day, there is no night. There is only the work. Your mind, which on the first day was a screaming, terrified prisoner, begins to retreat, to think of your past life, of the sun, of fresh air, of the taste of clean water, is a form of torture you cannot afford. And so your mind begins to shut down. You are no longer a man. You are an automaton. You are a machine made of muscle and of bone, a simple biological tool whose only function is to strike the rock in front of you. A flame in your small clay lamp begins to sputter and to shrink. The oil is running out. This is the only clock you have, the only sign that the long 12-hour shift is nearing its end. You have produced 3 small baskets of the Emperor's precious silver ore, and in exchange, the mountain has taken a small but permanent piece of your lungs. It has taken a measure of your strength that you will never get back. It has taken a piece of your very soul. You pause, your pick held in your blistered, raw hands, and you stare into the flickering, dying light of your lamp, the great, oppressive, absolute, and patient darkness of the deep earth waiting to reclaim you. The small, sputtering flame in your oil lamp is the only clock you have in this timeless, subterranean world. As it begins to shrink, its light turning from a weak yellow to a dying reddish orange, you know that your long 12-hour shift is nearing its end. You have produced 3 small baskets of the Emperor's precious silver ore. You have survived another day of the crushing, mind-numbing labor. But in this place, the labor itself is not the only enemy. The true and constant danger of the mine is not its exhaustion, but its profound and inventive lethality. To survive the work is one thing. To survive the mine itself is another. Your modern mind, your cursed and all-knowing mind, is a constant, screaming catalog of the 100 different ways you can die in this hole. The first and most certain of these deaths is the one you are breathing in at this very moment. It is the dust. The fine, sharp, and glittering dust of the quartz and the heavy metals. With every swing of your pick, with every blow of your hammer, you are releasing a small, fresh cloud of this microscopic, crystalline poison into the stagnant, unmoving air of your tunnel. You can feel it. It is a fine, gritty coating on your tongue, in your nostrils, at the back of your throat. You know, with the terrible and useless certainty of your future knowledge, what this dust is doing to you. You can almost feel the tiny, sharp-edged particles settling deep within your lungs, a fine gray silt in the delicate pink tissues. You know that with every breath, you are a participant in your own slow, inexorable, and agonizing death. You are developing silicosis, the stone lung, a disease for which there is no name and no cure in this ancient world. You know that even if you were to be miraculously freed from this mine tomorrow, a part of the mountain would now live inside you, a slow-growing, crystalline cancer that will one day leave you a breathless, coughing, and dying man. This is the slow death, the one that is guaranteed. But the mine also offers quicker, more dramatic, and more immediate paths to the afterlife. There is the danger of the rock itself. You are working in a crude, hastily dug tunnel, 1,000 feet beneath the surface of the earth. The only thing holding the immense, crushing weight of the mountain above you at bay is the simple, unreinforced integrity of the stone itself. There are no great wooden support beams here, for timber is a precious commodity, not to be wasted on the lives of condemned men. You are working in a raw, open wound in the earth, and sometimes the earth decides to heal itself. You have seen it happen. You were working in your own small tunnel when you heard it. A low, deep, and almost animalistic groan from a different section of the mine. It was a sound that was not just heard, but felt, a deep, sickening vibration that traveled through the very rock you were kneeling on. It was followed by a sound like thunder, a great, roaring, and final crump that seemed to shake the entire world. And then, silence. A profound and terrible silence. A tunnel, just 100 paces from your own, had collapsed. The men who were inside, 10 of them, you later heard, were not killed. They were simply erased from existence, their bodies and their screams instantly and completely absorbed by 1,000,000 tons of rock and earth. There was no rescue attempt. There was no recovery of the bodies. The tunnel was simply sealed, a new and permanent tomb in the heart of the mountain, and the work in the other tunnels continued. You know, with an absolute and terrifying certainty, that the small, dark space you now inhabit could at any moment, without any warning, become your own final and unsanctified grave. And then there is the danger of the fire. It is one of the strangest and most terrifying of all the mine's brutal technologies. Sometimes the veins of the silver ore are too hard for the simple iron picks to break, and so the overseers will employ a different method. They will order the men to build a great, raging bonfire against the rock face, heating the stone until it is almost glowing. Then they will throw buckets of cold water onto the superheated rock. The sudden, violent change in temperature will crack the stone, allowing the miners to access the ore within. It is a brilliant, simple, and effective piece of primitive thermal engineering. It is also a form of chemical warfare. The process releases a great, thick, and billowing cloud of foul, acrid, and deeply poisonous smoke and vapor into the already stagnant and unbreathable air of the mine. It is a smoke that chokes the lungs, that makes the eyes stream with tears, that leaves men gasping and dizzy. The overseers, who remain safely upwind, call it taming the rock. You know it as a different kind of slow death, a daily poisoning of the air that makes the stone lung seem like a gentle and distant cousin. You lie in your small, dark tunnel, your lamp now just a single, tiny, and sputtering red ember. The darkness is almost absolute. The air is thick with the dust of your own slow death. The rock around you groans and creaks with the immense, patient, and ever-present threat of its own collapse. You are a man who has been sentenced not just to hard labor, but to a constant, intimate, and multifaceted relationship with your own impending and almost certain demise. You have survived the work, but you are acutely, terrifyingly aware that you are still a very, very long way from surviving the mine. The small, sputtering flame in your oil lamp gives a final sad flicker and dies. You are plunged into a profound and absolute darkness, a blackness so total it is a physical presence. The last of your allotted oil is gone. The long 12-hour shift is over. A moment later, you hear the distant, echoing blast of a horn, the signal from the overseers. It is time to return to the surface. It is time to leave the tomb, if only for a few brief hours. The journey back is the mirror image of your morning's descent, but it is 100 times more difficult. You crawl out of your small, coffin-like tunnel and back into the main shaft, a ghost emerging from a grave. You join a long, silent, and shuffling line of other exhausted, dust-caked men. The ascent begins. It is a slow, agonizing, and almost vertical climb up a series of crude, rickety, and slime-covered wooden ladders. Your body, which was already aching this morning, is now a single, unified instrument of pure, screaming pain. Your muscles, depleted by a full day of brutal labor in the thin, dead air, tremble with a violent weakness. Every step upwards is a monumental effort of will. The man above you slips, his foot dislodging a shower of small pieces, sharp rocks that rain down on your head. The man below you is coughing, a deep, wet, and rattling cough that you know is the beginning of the stone lung, a sound that is the future of every man in this shaft. And then, after an eternity of this vertical agony, you see it. A small, distant, and impossibly bright point of light high above you. It is the entrance to the mine. It is the sky. It is the world of the living. As you climb closer, the light grows, from a small star to a great white and blinding eye. You are not used to this light. Your eyes, which have spent 12 hours in an almost total darkness, are now exquisitely sensitive. The light is a physical pain. You squint, you turn your head away, but you keep climbing, drawn towards the world you have almost forgotten. You finally stumble out of the dark, cold mouth of the mine and into the late afternoon sun. You have been reborn into the world, and it is a painful, disorienting, and brutal birth. The heat of the Spanish sun, which you have not felt all day, is a physical blow. a wave of fire that seems to scorch your skin. The fresh, open air of the world is a shock to your dust-filled lungs, and you are seized by a fit of deep, racking, and uncontrollable coughing. Your body desperately trying to expel the poison you have been breathing in all day. The colors of the world, the deep, impossible blue of the sky, the reddish-brown of the earth, are so vibrant, so intense, that they seem to shimmer and vibrate with an unnatural energy. Your day's work is still not over. You and the other men are herded into a line before a wooden table where a Roman scribe sits. One by one, you must present the baskets of ore you have produced. The scribe, a man whose hands are clean, whose tunic is white, weighs your pathetic, hard-won pile of rock and makes a neat, black mark on a wax tablet next to your designated number. Your entire 12-hour day of back-breaking, life-threatening labor has been reduced to a single, small and insignificant character on a Roman ledger. If your total is deemed too low, your evening ration of bread will be cut in half. Finally, the accounting is complete. You are shackled back into your long, shuffling line, and you are marched back to the barracks. It is a long, low, windowless building of rough stone and timber, surrounded by a high fence and watched by the same bored and impassive Roman guards. It is not a home. It is a cage, and it is here, in the relative quiet and inactivity of the evening, that the true and most profound horror of your situation descends upon you. In the mine, your mind was mercifully numbed by the sheer physical brutality of the labor. Here, in the stillness, you are left with nothing but your own thoughts and the truth. You are a damnatus ad metalla, a man condemned to the mines, and you now understand what this truly means. It is not a job you can quit. It is not a prison sentence that has an end date. You have been condemned to this place for the rest of your natural life. Your sentence only ends when the mine, in its own patient time, decides to kill you. You look out through a crack in the rough wooden door of the barracks. You see the vast, empty and sun-scorched landscape that surrounds the mine. You see the distant, watchful figures of the Roman legionaries on the walls of the compound. And you are filled with a sense of the most absolute and profound hopelessness. There is nowhere to run. There is no one to appeal to. There is no possibility of a pardon. You are already dead to the world. Your name has been erased from all official records. Your family, if you had one, has been told that you have died of a fever, and they have already mourned you. You are a ghost. You are a nameless number on a scribe's wax tablet. You are a tool owned by the emperor, and your only purpose is to produce a few, small, pitiful ounces of silver before you are broken and discarded. You eat your evening meal, a piece of the same gritty, sandy bread you had in Egypt, and a bowl of sour, watered-down wine. You look at the other men in the barracks. You see the same hollow and dead-eyed expression on every face. You see the men who are already in the grip of the coughing sickness, their bodies wasting away. You see the men who are missing fingers or an eye from a past accident. You see your own future, and you understand there is no tomorrow here. There is only an endless, grinding, and brutal repetition of today. You will wake in the dark. You will be marched to the mine. You will descend into the darkness. You will perform your crushing labor, surrounded by the constant threat of death. You will ascend back into the painful light, and you will be returned to this same squalid and hopeless cage, again and again and again, until the day that you can no longer climb the ladder. You lie down on your rough, straw pallet. You have survived one more day. But survival here is not a victory. It is merely a postponement of the inevitable. You close your eyes, and the only thing you can see is the deep, suffocating darkness of the tunnel. The only thing you can hear is the distant, muffled, and eternal sound of the hammers. And you know, with a certainty that has replaced all hope, that the only true escape from this life is death. The death of the Roman miner was a slow, quiet, and lonely affair, a certainty sealed in a world of absolute darkness. But in the great, teeming, and chaotic heart of the empire, in the city of Rome itself, death was often a much louder, hotter, and more communal event. Our journey now leaves the silent despair of the Spanish silver mines and takes to the dark, narrow, and treacherous streets of the capital city. You are no longer a condemned slave, a nameless number in a legion of the damned. You are a free man. You are a libertus, an ex-slave who has earned his freedom, and you have just signed up for one of the few, respectable, paying jobs available to a man of your low social standing. You are a member of the Vigiles Urbani. You are a watchman of the city. You are a firefighter, and you are about to learn that the dangers of the city can be just as lethal as the darkness of the deep earth. Your first shift begins at the setting of the sun. You are part of a vicus, a small patrol of 7 men, led by a hardened, cynical centurion who has been walking these same streets for 20 years. Your station is in the Suburra, the most notorious, the most crowded, and the most dangerous slum in the entire Roman world. You step out into the night, and you are plunged into a world of profound and intimidating darkness. There are no streetlights in the city of Rome. The only light comes from the pale sliver of a moon, which is mostly obscured by the towering, leaning buildings, from the occasional, smoky, and flickering oil lamp that glows in a high window, and from the single, swaying lantern that is carried by the man at the front of your patrol. The streets are not the grand, wide avenues of the Forum. They are narrow, winding, twisting alleys, like deep and dark canyons carved into a mountain of humanity. The sounds of the Roman night are a furtive and dangerous symphony. The great roaring noise of the daytime city, the sound of 1,000,000 people, has been replaced by a more intimate and more threatening set of sounds. You hear the distant, angry shout of a drunken brawl, followed by the sharp, splintering crash of a piece of furniture being broken. You hear the slam of a heavy door, the scuttling of 1,000 unseen rats in the overflowing piles of refuse, and the soft, almost inaudible whisper of movement in a dark, empty doorway that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And the smell? The smell of the city is a thick, almost physical presence at night. It is the overpowering stench of the overflowing cesspits, of the rotting garbage that has been thrown from the high windows, and of the close, hot, and unwashed smell of the 50,000 people who are packed into the rickety, wooden tenements of this single, sprawling slime. Your job tonight is a twofold one. First, you are the city's police. You and your patrol are the only thing that stands between the sleeping, respectable citizens of Rome and the city's great, restless population of thieves, of cutthroats, of brawlers. You grip the wooden handle of the short axe at your belt. It is your only weapon, a tool that is meant for breaking down doors, but that you know may have to serve a more brutal purpose. You are not a soldier. You are a civil servant, and you are terrified. But your primary and most important duty is not to watch the people. It is to watch the city itself. You are a fire watch. Your gaze is constantly moving upwards, scanning the dark, looming shapes of the great wooden apartment buildings. You are sniffing the air, your senses on high alert, searching for the first, faint, and telltale sign of the city's greatest and most relentless enemy. You are looking for the smell of smoke. You are a new recruit, and the fear is a cold, hard knot in your stomach. The darkness is a living thing. Every shadow seems to hold a threat. But you are part of a team. You look at the other men in your patrol. They are veterans, their faces grim and impassive, their movements slow, steady, and confident. They have walked these same dark streets 1,000 times. Their quiet, professional presence is your only comfort in this strange and threatening world. For the first few hours, the night is quiet. Your patrol is a slow, rhythmic, and almost monotonous affair. You walk the same prescribed circuit of streets, your footsteps echoing in the narrow alleys. The initial sharp terror begins to fade, replaced by a dull, aching weariness in your legs and a low-grade constant tension. You are cold. You are tired. And you are deeply, profoundly on edge. And then you smell it. It is a new smell, a smell that cuts through the usual ambient stench of the slum. It is the sharp, acrid, and unmistakable smell of burning wood. At the same moment, a new sound reaches you. It is a distant, high-pitched, and frantic shout, a single word that echoes through the labyrinthine streets. Ignis, Ignis, fire. The centurion of your patrol stops. He lifts his head, sniffing the air like an old hound. The leisurely, almost bored, pace of your patrol is over. He points down a dark, narrow alleyway. There, he barks, his voice a sudden, sharp, and commanding weapon. Move. The long, boring, and tense hours of the watch are over. The true, terrifying, and almost certainly lethal part of your new job is about to begin. The cry of Ignis acts like a lightning strike on the quiet, tense atmosphere of your night watch. The slow, methodical, and almost sleepy rhythm of your patrol is shattered in an instant. The fear you have been carrying all night, the low-grade, anxious dread of the unknown, is immediately replaced by a new, sharper, and far more potent kind of terror. It is the terror of a known and rapidly approaching enemy. Your centurion does not hesitate for a second. His weary, cynical demeanor vanishes, replaced by the sharp, decisive authority of a veteran soldier. Move, he bellows, his voice a harsh, gravelly roar that cuts through the night. And you run. Your patrol of 7 men becomes a frantic, clattering procession, running through the dark, narrow, and labyrinthine streets of the Subura. Your heavy, hobnailed sandals slip on the refuse-strewn ground. The single lantern, carried by the man at the front, casts wild, leaping, and monstrous shadows on the walls of the tall buildings that press in on you from all sides. The signs of the fire grow with every step you take. The faint, sharp smell of burning wood is now a thick, acrid, and choking cloud of smoke that stings your eyes and catches in the back of your throat. The distant orange glow is now a bright, angry, and pulsing light that illuminates the sky above the rooftops. A false and terrible dawn. The sounds of the city have changed. The quiet is gone, replaced by a rising chorus of panic, more shouts, the sound of doors being thrown open, and the first, high-pitched and truly terrifying sound of a woman screaming. As you run, your modern mind, your mind from a world of building codes and of fire departments, is screaming its own silent, analytical warning. You are not just running towards a fire. You are running into a perfect and meticulously designed architectural trap. This is not a city of stone and marble, not here in the belly of the beast. This is a city of timber and of greed. You look up at the great, dark, looming shapes of the apartment buildings, the insulae, that line these narrow streets, and you see them for what they are. They are a tinderbox. They are a forest of dry, dead wood, waiting for a spark. They are built cheaply, hastily, by greedy landlords trying to cram as many of the city's millions of poor souls into the smallest possible space. The ground floors may be of crude brick, but the upper stories, which rise 6, 7, even 8 stories into the sky, are a precarious and dangerously flammable combination of timber frames, woven wattle, and walls of dried mud and plaster. They are impossibly tall, and they are packed together with a suicidal density. The street you are running through is no more than 10 feet wide, and the great wooden buildings on either side seem to lean in towards each other, their high, overhanging balconies almost touching, blocking out the sky. A fire, you know with a chilling certainty, will not need to struggle to spread here. It will simply leap, a hungry and joyous beast, from one rooftop to the next. And you know that these buildings are not empty. They are hives crammed with humanity. Dozens of families, all living in single, small, and windowless rooms. And you know that every single one of those rooms has an open, charcoal brazier for heat and for cooking. A tiny domestic and ever-present fire hazard. A small sleeping dragon waiting for a single, careless moment to awaken. A fire in a single apartment in a Roman insula is never a small event. It is, you realize, an almost certain catastrophe. You round a final sharp corner, and you are no longer running towards the glow. You are in it. The sight that greets you is a vision from a poet's description of the underworld. It is a scene of pure, roaring, and absolute hell. An entire 7-story insula, a building that is home to perhaps 200 people, is completely and utterly engulfed in a furious, raging inferno. The heat is a physical, solid wall that hits you with the force of a blow, forcing you to stop, to shield your face with your arm. The sound is a monstrous, deafening roar, a symphony of destruction. It is the deep, hungry, and almost living voice of the fire itself, a sound that is mixed with the sharp, cracking groan of great, burning timbers as they collapse, and the high-pitched, desperate, and soul-shattering screams of the people who are still trapped on the upper floors. Their dark, silhouetted forms visible for a fleeting, terrible moment in the windows of fire. The building is no longer a building. It is a tower of pure white-hot and orange flame, a great sacrificial pyre that is spewing a vast black column of smoke and a blizzard of glowing red sparks into the night sky. You are a new recruit, you are a firefighter, and you are frozen. You stand there, a statue of pure, abject, and paralyzing terror. You have never seen anything like this in your life. You have never conceived that a thing of such power and of such fury could even exist. You look down at your own hands. In one, you are holding a simple leather bucket. In the other, you are holding a small, single-bladed axe. And then you look back up at the towering, roaring, and apocalyptic inferno before you. And in that moment, you are struck by the sheer, insane, and almost comical futility of your own existence. You are a man who has been sent to fight the sun itself with a bucket of water. Your paralysis is shattered by the harsh, angry, and blessedly real voice of your centurion. He grabs you by the shoulder, his grip like a vice. "The bucket line!" he bellows, his voice a roar that cuts through the noise of the fire. "Form the bucket line. You two, with me. Axes. The building next door. We must bring it down before the fire jumps. Move!" Now. His voice is the voice of a man who is not a hero. It is the voice of a man who is engaged in a desperate and almost certainly losing battle of damage control. He is not trying to save the burning building. He knows, with the weary certainty of a veteran, that it is already a tomb. He is simply, with his handful of men and their pathetic, primitive tools, trying to stop this one single, raging monster from consuming the entire city. The true, terrifying, and unbelievably dangerous work of the Vigiles has just begun. The centurion's roar cuts through the thick, paralyzing fog of your terror. His command is a physical thing, a slap that jolts you back into the horrifying reality of the moment. There is no more time to be a spectator. You are a firefighter, and you have a job to do. The scene around you is one of pure, unrestrained chaos. People are pouring out of the surrounding tenements. their faces pale masks of panic in the flickering orange light of the inferno. Some are carrying children, others are dragging heavy wooden chests of their meager belongings. Their screams and shouts add a new human layer of terror to the inhuman roar of the fire itself. Your small patrol of 7 men is now the nucleus of a frantic, disorganized, but growing army. More vigiles are arriving from the neighboring districts, their lanterns bobbing in the darkness, their own shouts adding to the din. And the local citizens, roused from their sleep, are now joining the effort, their initial panic being channeled into a desperate collective struggle for survival. "The cistern!" the centurion bellows, pointing down a dark side alley. "Form the bucket line, now!" You are swept up in the motion. You find your place in a long, human chain that is rapidly forming, stretching from a neighborhood water cistern some 50 paces away, all the way to the edge of the fire's terrifying heat. It is the most ancient and the most inefficient of all firefighting technologies. It is the bucket brigade. You stand in the line and the work begins. A leather bucket, heavy with a few gallons of precious pulled water, is slapped into your hands. You turn, you pass it to the man next to you. You turn back, and another bucket is already there. It is a simple, brutal, and relentless rhythm. Take, turn, pass, turn back. But this is not a simple line of men. It is a gauntlet of sensory torment. The heat from the great, burning tenement is a constant physical presence. It scorches the skin on the left side of your face, while the cold night air chills your right. The air you breathe is no longer air. It is a thick, choking, and poisonous soup of hot smoke and acrid fumes that makes your lungs burn and your eyes stream with a constant, blinding flow of tears. And you are keenly, terrifyingly aware of the sheer, insane futility of your labor. You watch as the small, pathetic-looking leather buckets are passed, hand to hand, down the long, desperate line. You see the man at the very front, his face a mask of grim determination, as he throws the contents of his bucket onto the base of the towering 7-story inferno. The water hits the fire with a loud, angry hiss, and it simply vanishes. It evaporates into a cloud of steam in an instant, a tiny, insignificant offering that does nothing, absolutely nothing, to quell the furious, roaring appetite of the great, fiery beast. You are trying to spit on a volcano. You are trying to empty the sea with a seashell. The entire, massive, and exhausting effort of 100 men is a complete and utter waste. The centurion knows this. He is a veteran. He is not a fool. The bucket line is not a tool to put out the fire. It is a tool to manage the crowd, to give the terrified citizens something to do, to create a semblance of order in the face of an unconquerable chaos. The real work, the true, brutal, and terrifying work of Roman firefighting is happening right beside you. You, the centurion's voice barks in your ear, and you are suddenly pulled from the relative safety of the bucket line. And you, I need your axe, with me. He drags you and 2 other powerfully built men towards the building that stands directly next to the burning inferno. It is another insula, another 6-story tower of dry, creaking timber and plaster. The flames from the first building are already licking at its walls, the wooden balconies and window shutters beginning to smoke and to smolder. If this building catches, the fire will leap and the entire city block will be lost. "We bring it down," the centurion says, his voice a flat, hard, and unemotional command. "We make a fire break." You stare at him in a moment of stunned disbelief. You are not here to save this building. You are here to destroy it. You understand the grim, terrible logic of it all. You cannot put out the fire. The only way to stop a forest fire is to clear a path of trees before it. And this city, this great, teeming vertical forest of wood and plaster, is no different. You must kill a part of the city to save the whole. You are not a firefighter. You are a demolitionist. You are now working in the very jaws of hell. The heat is so intense, it feels as though your own clothes are about to ignite. The roar is so loud, it is a physical pressure on your eardrums. Great, fist-sized, burning embers are raining down around you like a form of fiery snow. And ye begin to hack. You raise your heavy single-bladed axe, and you swing it with all your might against the great, thick, wooden support beam at the corner of the building. The wood is old and hard, and your first blow bounces off with a jarring shock that makes your arms go numb. You swing again and again. You are no longer a thinking man. You are a creature of pure, frantic, and adrenaline-fueled action. You are in a race against the fire itself. You must bring this building down before the fire can claim it. You can hear the screams of the family who lives on the ground floor as they try to drag their pathetic worldly possessions out into the street, screaming curses at you, the men who are deliberately destroying their home. You are not a hero saving people from a fire. You are a brute destroying a man's home right before his eyes, and he sees you not as a savior, but as a uniformed vandal, an agent of the state's cruel and impersonal logic. You are hacking at a great wooden beam, your lungs burning, your body drenched in sweat, when you hear a new sound from above, a sound that is different from the roar of the fire. It is a deep, groaning, and final sound. It is the sound of the original inferno, the great tenement, as its own internal structure finally gives way. "Back!" the centurion screams, his voice a high, thin sound of pure animal terror. "Get back! She's coming down!" You and the other men scramble backwards, falling over each other in a desperate, panicked retreat as the entire 7-story building collapses in upon itself in a monstrous volcanic eruption of pure, white-hot flame, of black smoke, and of a billion glittering, swirling sparks. A great wave of superheated air and burning debris washes over the very spot where you were just standing. You have survived. But as you look at the new, lower, but even more furiously burning heart of the fire, you know that this battle is very, very far from over. The great tenement, a 7-story tower of life and of misery, has collapsed into its own fiery heart. You and the other men have scrambled back, your faces scorched by a great rolling wave of superheated air, your ears ringing from the monstrous final roar of the dying building. You are alive, but the fire is not dead. The towering, vertical inferno is gone, but in its place is something new, and in its own way, even more dangerous. It is a vast, sprawling, and impossibly hot field of burning rubble. It is a glowing, red, and angry wound on the face of the city, a great open-air furnace that continues to spew a thick, black, and choking column of smoke into the night sky. The immediate threat of the great collapse is over, but the long, grueling, and deeply exhausting work of containment has just begun. The centurion's voice, raw and hoarse from shouting, cuts through the ringing in your ears. "The fire is grounded. Now we kill it. Back to the waterline. Hooks, I want the hooks." The rest of the night is a descent into a new kind of hell. A hell of smoke, of steam, and of pure, mind-numbing physical exhaustion. You return to the bucket line. The rhythm is the same. Take, turn, pass, turn back. But the work is different now. You are closer to the fire, able to advance into the space where the adjacent building once stood. The heat is a constant physical presence, cooking the sweat on your skin, making your leather sandals feel as though they are melting. The air is so thick with smoke that you are constantly coughing, a deep, racking cough that brings up a foul black phlegm. You watch as the pathetic arc of water from each thrown bucket lands on the great, glowing pile of rubble. Each splash is met with a loud, angry, hissing cloud of steam, a momentary victory that does nothing to quell the deep internal fire that rages within the ruins. After an hour of this futile work, you are pulled from the line again. You are given a new tool. It is a uncus, a long, heavy wooden pole with a great iron hook at its end. Your new job is to approach the edge of the smoldering pile and to pull apart the ruins. This is the most dangerous work of all. You and a small team of other men move into the darkness, into the very mouth of the dragon. You plant your feet in the wet, black, and treacherous ground, which is a slurry of mud, ash, and shattered debris. You hook the great, charred, and still smoldering beams of the collapsed building, and you pull. It is a battle against the dead weight of the ruin. You and 5 other men throw your entire exhausted beings into the effort, your muscles screaming in protest. With a great groaning crack, a section of the rubble shifts, exposing a new, bright red, glowing pocket of fire that has been burning, starved of air, deep within the pile. The moment the air hits it, it erupts in a fresh whoosh of flame, forcing you to scramble back. The night becomes a blur of this brutal, repetitive labor. You pass buckets, you pull hooks, you cough, you sweat, you endure. The initial frantic and terrifying adrenaline of the fire has long since worn off, replaced by a deep, hollow, and almost trance-like state of exhaustion. You are no longer thinking. You are simply a machine, a tool of the city, your body a small and insignificant part of the great collective effort to kill this fire before it can spread further. And then, after an eternity of this smoky, fiery darkness, you notice a change. The sky to the east is no longer a uniform inky black. It is a pale, bruised, and sickly gray. The dawn is coming. As the sun rises over the city of Rome, its clean, new, golden light illuminates the scene of your long night's battle. And in the sober, honest light of the morning, you see the true and terrible cost of the fire. The great inferno is finally, truly out. In its place is a great, black, and smoking scar on the face of the city, where last night a towering building stood, a home to hundreds of souls. There is now only an empty space, a great black footprint filled with a mountain of charred, wet, and still smoldering rubble. The air, for miles around, stinks of cold, wet ash, a dead and depressing smell. And you see them. The other city officials, the cleaners, have arrived with the dawn. They are moving through the ruins, their faces grim and impassive, and you see what they are carrying. Small, blanket-wrapped bundles, the bodies of those who did not escape. You see them carry out the body of a woman, and then the impossibly small, heartbreakingly tiny body of a child. The true human cost of the fire is now a quiet, orderly, and deeply horrifying procession in the clean morning light. Your centurion finally blows his whistle. The shift is over. The fire is dead. Your work is done. You and the other men of your patrol are a sorry sight. You are no longer men. You are ghosts, specters made of ash and of soot. Your clothes are a tattered, blackened, and still damp ruin. Your face is a black mask. Your eyes a raw, red, and weeping testament to the long hours of smoke. Your lungs are a pit of fire. Your body is a single, unified landscape of pure, unadulterated pain, of aches, of blisters, of 100 small, unnoticed burns. You trudge, a silent, blackened, and exhausted procession, back through the morning streets of Rome, The city is already teeming with its usual, vibrant, and utterly indifferent life. Merchants are opening their shops. Senators are being carried in their litters to the forum. The city you have just spent the entire night fighting to save has already forgotten your battle. You finally arrive back at your barracks. You do not have the strength to wash. You do not have the strength to eat. You simply collapse onto your hard wooden pallet, your body a dead weight. You have survived your first fire. You have done your job. You have saved a small piece of the city by watching a part of it, and the people within it burn to the ground. You close your raw, stinging eyes, and the only thing you can see is the bright, dancing, and eternal orange of the flames. You have survived the slow, dark, and suffocating death of the mine. You have survived the hot, chaotic, and screaming death of the fire. But in the grand, cruel theater of Rome, there was another kind of dangerous job. A job that was not a slow decay or a sudden accident, but a spectacular, celebrated, and almost certain path to a violent and public end. Our journey now takes us from the squalid, anonymous streets of the Subura to a place of disciplined, sun-drenched, and brutal artistry. You are no longer a criminal or a civil servant. You are a product. You are an investment. You are a future corpse. You have just been sold to the ludus. You are to become a gladiator. You are a warrior, or you were. You were captured in a bitter, losing war against the Roman legions on the cold, misty frontier of Germania. You fought with the wild, undisciplined fury of a free man protecting his home, and you were defeated. You were chained, marched 1,000 miles, and sold in the great slave market of Rome. But you were not sold to a quarry or a farm. Your strong, healthy, and battle-hardened body was deemed too valuable for such simple, grinding labor. You have been purchased by a Lenista, a master of a gladiator school, a man who saw in your defiant eyes not a slave, but a potential champion, a potential source of immense profit. Your new home is the Ludus Magnus, the great school that stands in the very shadow of the Colosseum itself. It is not the filthy, squalid prison you had imagined. It is a highly professional and ruthlessly efficient training facility, a place that looks and feels like a military academy for the damned. Your first day begins with an assessment. You and a dozen other new recruits, other captured warriors, condemned criminals, and the occasional desperate freeman who has sold himself into this life are stripped naked and herded into the center of the great, sun-baked, sand-covered training yard. The Lenista, a short, powerful man with the cold, dead eyes of a man who has seen 1,000 men die, inspects you. He is not a warrior. He is a businessman. He walks around you, his gaze appraising you as if you were a prize horse. He feels your muscles. He inspects the old scars on your arms and chest. He even checks your teeth. He is not looking for a man. He is assessing the quality of his new product. He is calculating your potential for violence, for spectacle, and for profit. Then the training begins. It is immediate, it is relentless, and it is a form of torture that is more profound than any simple beating. The goal of the ludus is not just to teach you how to fight. It is to break the man you were and to rebuild you into a perfect, obedient, and spectacular killing machine. You are given your first tool. It is not a sharp steel gladius. It is a rudis, a practice sword made of heavy, solid wood, and it is twice the weight of a real sword. You are also given a wicker practice shield, and then you begin the drills. For hours, under the hot sun, you are forced to practice the most basic and most agonizing of movements, over and over and over again. You practice your footwork, the gratis, 1,000 times, your feet sinking in the hot, soft sand. Your leg muscles screaming with a fiery, acidic pain. You are made to stand before the palace, a great wooden post that is driven into the center of the yard. And you must strike it. For hours. Strike, strike, strike. The heavy, weighted wooden sword is a dead, brutal weight in your hand. The trainer, a former gladiator with a face that is a web of old scars, circles you like a wolf. His long, thin wooden cane, a constant, stinging presence on your back, on your legs, on your arms. Again, he roars, his voice a harsh, guttural bark. You are not a farmer chopping wood. You are a weapon. A weapon does not feel tired. A weapon does not feel pain. A weapon only obeys. Strike. Your body, which you thought was strong, is reduced to a single, unified, and quivering mass of pure agony. The muscles in your arm and your shoulder feel as though they are being torn from the bone. But you continue. You must continue. To stop is to invite a beating that is far worse than the simple pain of the training. The food you are given is not the thin, watery gruel of a common slave. It is a specific and scientific diet. You are fed a thick, heavy, and bland porridge of barley and beans, the gladiatorium saganam. It is a diet designed to build not just muscle, but a thick layer of fat over that muscle. The fat, the trainer explains with a cold practical logic, is a form of armor. It protects the muscles and the organs from the superficial, but often spectacular, cuts of the arena. A layer of fat, he tells you, also makes for a bloodier and more exciting fight for the crowd. You are not just being trained, you are being fattened for the slaughter. As you lie on your simple, hard pallet in the clean, orderly barracks of the ludus that night, your body a single, throbbing landscape of pain, you are filled with a profound and bitter sense of humiliation. You were a proud warrior, a free man, and you have been reduced to this, a slave, a piece of meat, being trained to kill other, equally miserable men for the amusement of your conquerors. But as you lie there, you can hear it. It is a distant but ever-present sound. It is a low, deep and almost constant roar, like the sound of the sea. It is the sound of the 80,000 spectators in the great stone amphitheater that looms just outside your walls. It is the sound of the Colosseum. And in that sound, you find a new, strange, and deeply dangerous flicker of hope. In the mine, there was only the certainty of a slow, anonymous death. But here there is a chance. A small, almost impossible and blood-soaked chance. For if you fight well, if you survive, if you can make that great, roaring beast of a crowd love you, you can win more than just your life. You can win your freedom. Your new job has begun, and it will end in one of only two possible ways, in a glorious and almost unimaginable freedom, or in a bloody, anonymous, and spectacular death on the hot, sun-drenched sands of the arena. The first day of your new life is over. Your body is a single, unified, and throbbing landscape of a pain so profound, you did not know it was possible for a man to feel it and still be alive. Every muscle, from your neck to your ankles, screams in a silent, fiery protest. You have been systematically and professionally broken down. You have been remade from a warrior into a raw recruit, a novitiate, and now you must learn to survive the night. You are led from the training yard into the gladiators' barracks. The building is clean, orderly, and as disciplined as the training itself. Long, two-tiered rows of simple, hard, wooden bunks line the stone walls. In the center of the long room, a series of rough-hewn wooden tables and benches are arranged. This is your new home. The atmosphere in the barracks is not one of friendship. It is not the easy, boisterous camaraderie of a soldier's encampment. The air is thick with a strange, complex, and deeply unsettling mixture of sweat, of fear, of professional jealousy, and of a strange, grudging, and almost brotherly respect. It is the atmosphere of a room full of men who know they may one day be forced to kill each other for the amusement of a crowd. You quickly learn that the ludus, the gladiator school, has a social hierarchy that is as rigid, as brutal, and as unforgiving as the training itself. It is a pecking order that you must learn to navigate if you are to survive not just the arena, but the long, tense nights in between. At the very bottom of this food chain are you and the other new recruits. You are the fresh meat. You are treated with a mixture of contempt and a cold, professional curiosity. The older, more experienced gladiators look at you as if you are already dead, a ghost who does not yet know his own fate. They do not speak to you. They do not acknowledge your existence. You are nothing. Above you are the veterani, the seasoned fighters. These are the men who have survived a few fights in the provincial arenas, or perhaps even in the great Colosseum itself. Their bodies are maps of their profession, a landscape of thick, ropey scars and poorly healed bones. They move with a slow, confident, and dangerous grace. They are the sergeants of this strange, deadly army, and they enforce the unwritten rules of the barracks with a casual and often brutal authority. And at the very top, a king in this kingdom of the damned is the champion, the primus pallus, the first sword. He does not sleep here in the common barracks with the rest of you. He has his own private cell, a small stone room with a real bed, a luxury of almost unimaginable proportions. You see him as you eat your evening meal. He is a great, hulking Gaul, a murmillo, a fighter who uses the great, heavy shield and the short, stabbing gladius of a Roman legionary. His body is a masterpiece of trained and scarred muscle. His face is a grim, unsmiling mask. He is a living legend within these walls, a man who has survived 20 fights, a man who has won his freedom 10 times over, but who continues to fight for the immense purses of gold and the roar of the adoring crowd. You watch him, and you see the rewards of success. He is given the best portions of the barley mash, the gladiatorium saganim. He is given a jug of undiluted wine, while you and the other recruits drink only water. And later tonight, you know, a woman will be brought to his cell, a pleasure that is reserved only for the gods of this small, violent world. He is a walking, breathing advertisement for the one, tiny, glittering prize that all of you are fighting for: success. And as you look at him, you are filled with a complex and contradictory mixture of pure animal fear, of a deep and burning envy, and of a new, cold, and powerful ambition. He is the living proof that survival, and even a strange and twisted kind of glory, is possible. His position becomes your new, secret, and almost certainly fatal goal. The social dynamics of this place are a constant, nerve-shredding tightrope walk. Every man in this room is your potential opponent. The man who sits beside you on the bench, the man with whom you share your evening meal, might be the man whose throat you must cut next month to win your own life. This terrible, central truth poisons every interaction. Friendships are a dangerous and foolish luxury. An ally today can be an enemy tomorrow. Alliances are temporary, pragmatic, and utterly without sentiment. You learn very quickly the unwritten rules. You learn who you can look in the eye and who you must look away from. You learn to show the proper, silent deference to the veterans without appearing weak. You learn to be invisible, to be silent, to be a ghost. For in this world, to be noticed is to be tested, and to be tested for a new recruit is to be broken. You lie on your hard, wooden bunk in the darkness of the barracks. The great building is filled with the sounds of this strange and dangerous community. You hear the loud, guttural snores of the exhausted men. You hear the quiet, suppressed weeping of another new recruit, a boy from your own tribe in the bunk below you. And from the far end of the hall, from the champion's private cell, you hear the low, confident, and utterly infuriating sound of a woman's laughter. You have survived your first day of training, but you understand now that the battle for your survival is not a thing that is fought only in the hot, sun-drenched sand of the training yard. It is a constant, 24-hour-a-day war. It is a war of discipline, of pain, of social maneuvering, and of pure animal cunning. And you must win it every single day if you are ever to have the chance to fight and to die in the great arena itself. Months have passed. The soft, undisciplined flesh of the man you were has been burned away in the relentless, sun-drenched furnace of the training yard. The clumsy warrior from the misty forests of Germania has been systematically and brutally dismantled and then rebuilt into something new, something harder, something sharper, something that is no longer a man, but a finely tuned instrument of death. You have survived the ludus. You are no longer a novitius. You are a gladiator, and today your time has come. Villanista, your master and your owner, posts the list for the next Munera, the great games to be held in the Colosseum to celebrate the emperor's birthday. A crowd of your fellow gladiators, your brothers in this strange and deadly fraternity, gathers around the wooden board. You push your way through the press of scarred and muscular bodies, your heart a cold, heavy stone in your chest, and you see it, your name, carved into the wax tablet. You are to fight tomorrow. A profound, cold, and strangely exhilarating feeling, a mixture of pure abject terror and a fierce, almost joyful anticipation washes over you. The long, monotonous, and painful rehearsal is over. The great and terrible performance is about to begin. The day is a blur of rituals. You are given a better meal than usual, a final portion of the barley mash to build your strength. You are permitted to visit the small shrine to Nemesis, the goddess of fate and of gladiators, to make your own private and desperate prayer. And then in the late afternoon, the procession begins. You and the 24 other men who are to fight tomorrow are marched from the relative safety and familiarity of the ludus, through a private, guarded underground tunnel, and into the belly of the beast itself. You are now in the hypogeum, the dark, subterranean labyrinth of cells and corridors that lies directly beneath the sand of the Colosseum's arena floor. You have left the world of the living. You have entered the underworld. The world here is a maze of dark, narrow, and damp stone corridors. The only light is the faint, smoky, and flickering glow of a few sparsely placed torches, which cast long, dancing, and monstrous shadows. You are herded into a small, stone, and barn holding cell with 3 other men. The heavy, iron gate is slammed shut and bolted behind you. This is where you will spend the last night of your life. The atmosphere is a thick, choking, and multi-sensory assault. The first thing that hits you is the smell. It is a smell unlike any you have ever known. It is the smell of damp, cold stone, of the foul, stagnant water in the drainage ditches, of the pungent animal reek of unwashed and terrified men. And beneath it all is another, even more terrifying smell. It is the hot, musky, and deeply predatory scent of the great, wild beasts that are kept in the cells just down the corridor. It is the smell of lions, of leopards, of bears. It is the smell of death. And then there is the sound. It is a symphony from hell. It is a constant, low, and terrifying rumble that seems to be all around you. A sound that you can feel in your teeth and in your bones. It is the distant, muffled, but ever-present roar of the great Roman crowd, a sound that is not human, but is like the sound of the sea or of a great and hungry fire. And woven into this roar are the other sounds of the underworld, the sudden, explosive, and heart-stopping roar of a lion from a nearby cell, a sound of pure savage power that makes the very stones vibrate, the high-pitched, insane-sounding chatter of hyenas, and the quiet human sounds of your fellow prisoners, the low, desperate murmur of a man reciting a prayer in a language you do not know, the quiet, suppressed weeping of a young boy who is to fight his first and last match, the sharp, novice, and overly loud laughter of a veteran who is trying and failing to pretend he is not afraid. Later that evening, as a final traditional gesture of respect from your lanista, you are given the cena libera, the last meal. It is a feast. Servants bring platters of roasted pork, of fine white bread, of sweet figs and dates, and jugs of good, strong wine. It is the finest meal you have had since you were captured. It is a strange, grim, and surreal affair. Some of the men, the veterans, eat with a kind of grim, determined gusto, as if trying to absorb one last earthly pleasure. Others, like yourself, are too consumed by the cold, tight knot of fear in their stomachs to even think of food. You take a piece of the bread. It tastes like dust in your mouth. You drink the wine, not for pleasure, but in the hope that it will dull the sharp, screaming edge of your own terror. After the meal, you are issued your weapons and your armor for the first time. Not the heavy, blunt, and safe wooden tools of the training yard. The real things. Your squire, a young slave of the ludus, brings them to you with a reverent silence. You pick up your gladius. It is a shockingly light, perfectly balanced, and beautifully deadly thing. You run a thumb over its razor-sharp edge. You have been trained for months to kill with such an instrument, but you have never held a real one before. You are given your helmet, your shield, your greaves. You are no longer a trainee. You are a fully armed gladiator. You retreat to your corner of the small, crowded cell. You are alone with your fear. The bravado of the training yard, the strange camaraderie of the barracks, it all melts away in the face of the stark, simple, and imminent reality of tomorrow. Tomorrow, you will be led out of this darkness and into the brilliant, blinding light of the arena. And you will either kill another man, a man you have trained with, a man you have eaten with, or you will be killed by him. You lie down on the cold, stone floor of your cell. You try to sleep, but you cannot. The great hungry and inhuman roar of the 80,000 people who have gathered to watch you die is a constant, unending, and terrible lullaby. The eve of the games is over. Tomorrow, you will be brought into the light, and you will either become a hero, a champion, a survivor, or you will become another bloody, anonymous memory on the hot, unforgiving sand. The long, terrible, and sleepless night is over. You are awakened not by the sun, but by the harsh, grating sound of the iron bolt on your cell door being drawn back. A guard, his face a mask of bored indifference, barks a single command. It is time. You and the other men who are to fight today are herded from your small, dark cells and into a large, subterranean antechamber. The air is thick with the smell of fear, a sour, animal scent of sweat and of dread. You see men performing their final, desperate, and private rituals. A Gaul is on his knees, whispering a prayer to a small, carved, wooden god he has kept hidden. A veteran gladiator is methodically checking the straps on his armor. His movements the only calm and steady thing in this entire chaotic room. And then you are pushed, along with a dozen other men, onto a large square wooden platform. You feel a sudden lurching motion. A great groaning sound echoes from above as a team of slaves begins to turn a massive, unseen capstan winch, and the platform begins to rise. You are being lifted, slowly, mechanically, out of the dark, damp, and stinking underworld of the Colosseum's belly, and up towards the light and the noise. The ascent is a journey from one world to another, and the arrival is a sensory and spiritual assault. You emerge into a square of the most brilliant, most blinding, and most painfully intense sunlight you have ever experienced. After the long hours spent in the torchlit gloom of the cells, the simple, honest light of the Roman sun is a physical blow. You are blinded. You raise a hand to shield your eyes, and in that moment of helpless, blinking disorientation, the second wave of the assault hits you. It is the sound. The distant, muffled, and almost comforting roar you have been listening to all night is gone. In its place is a solid, physical, and all-encompassing wall of pure human noise. It is the sound of 80,000 people, all of them screaming, all of them roaring, all of them hungry for the spectacle of your own violent death. It is not the sound of a crowd. It is the sound of a natural disaster. It is the sound of an ocean, of a hurricane, of a volcano. And it hits you with a force that seems to shake your very bones and rattle your soul. As your eyes begin to adjust, the third wave of the assault hits you, the sight. You are standing in the center of the universe. The arena floor, the faintest sand, is a vast, clean, and deceptively beautiful expanse of golden yellow. And all around you, rising up into the sky, is a great, curving, and impossible mountain of humanity. Tier upon tier upon tier of faces, of colors, of waving hands, stretching up to the very edge of the sky. You see the emperor in his gilded, purple-draped box, a small, distant, and impossibly powerful figure, a god looking down from his own private heaven. You see the front rows, the seats of honor, filled with the pale, serious, and judgmental faces of the senators in their white, bordered togas. You see the Vestal virgins, their faces serene and impassive, their presence a holy blessing upon the bloodshed to come. And you see the great, roaring, faceless mass of the common people, their mouths open, their fists pumping the air. They are screaming for you. They are screaming for your death. A horn blasts, a sharp brazen sound that cuts through the roar of the crowd. The procession begins. You and the other gladiators are organized into a line, and you begin the long, slow, and deeply humiliating parade around the edge of the arena. You are a piece of meat being displayed to the diners before the meal begins. The crowd roars its approval as you pass. They shout your name or your fighting style. They are not cheering for you, the man. They are cheering for their own entertainment. The procession finally halts directly in front of the emperor's box. The moment of the great and terrible ritual has come. At a signal from the lanista, you and every other gladiator in the arena raise your right arm in a salute to the distant divine figure in the box. And in a single, unified, powerful, and deeply resonant voice, you shout the ancient, chilling, and unforgettable words. Ave Imperador morituri te salutant. Hail, Emperor, those who are about to die salute you. The words echo in the great stone bowl of the Colosseum, and in that moment, you understand their true and terrible meaning. It is not a plea. It is not a protest. It is an act of absolute, final, and complete submission. It is a formal acknowledgement of your own status. You are not a warrior fighting for a cause. You are a human sacrifice, and you are greeting the God to whom you are about to be sacrificed. The emperor gives a slight, bored wave of his hand. The ritual is over. The games may begin. A herald begins to call out the pairings, and you hear your name, and then you hear the name of your opponent. It is the young boy from your own tribe, the one you heard weeping in his cell last night. The cold, calculated cruelty of the pairing is a final, psychological blow. You walk to the center of the arena. The boy is there, his face a pale, sweating mask of pure terror. You look at each other. You are not enemies. You are brothers in this terrible place. But the roar of the crowd is a hungry, demanding god, and it must be fed. The fight is a clumsy, brutal, and pathetic affair. It is not the elegant, choreographed dance of the training yard. It is a desperate, terrified struggle between two men who do not want to die. The weight of the real armor is awkward. The narrow slits of your helmet blind you. You trade a few clumsy blows. You are stronger, more experienced. You see an opening. You lunge. Your gladius finds his shoulder, a deep and bloody cut. He cries out and drops his shield. He stumbles and falls to the sand. It is over. He is on his back, disarmed and helpless, his life's blood staining the golden sand. You stand over him, your own sword at his throat, and you look up. You look up at the distant, powerful figure in the imperial box. Your own life is not your own, and neither is his. The decision of whether this boy lives or dies is not yours to make. You are a weapon, and you are waiting for the command. You stand in the center of the roaring, screaming, and blood-hungry Colosseum, the hot sun beating down on you, and you wait for a single, silent gesture from a god to tell you whether you are to be a hero or a murderer. The roar of the Colosseum is the sound of glory, of a spectacular and celebrated death, a job performed in the brilliant, blinding light of the sun. But in the great, complex, and deeply practical city of Rome, there were other, quieter, and far less glorious ways to die. There were dangerous jobs performed not in the cheering light of the world above, but in a profound, silent, and stinking darkness that lay hidden beneath the city's very feet. Our final journey takes us from the roaring heights of the arena to the silent, secret, and subterranean world that made the great city possible. You are no longer a celebrated warrior, a product to be sold for the entertainment of the masses. You are a humble and anonymous worker. You are a man who toils in the very gut of the city. You are a sewer worker, a curator cloacarum. Your day begins not in a training yard, but on a busy, sun-drenched street in the heart of Rome. A heavy, stone manhole cover has been pried open, revealing a dark, square, and uninviting hole in the ground. You are part of a small crew of 3 other men, all of you with the lean, wiry bodies and the grim, resigned faces of men who perform the jobs that no one else will. Your foreman, a loud, brutish man with a permanent sneer, stands above, enjoying the fresh air. Your equipment for this dangerous journey is a testament to your own disposability. You are stripped down to a simple woolen loincloth. On your feet, you wear crude wooden clogs, a pathetic and almost useless shield against the world you are about to enter. You are given a simple iron scraping tool, and you are given your only lifeline, your only source of light and of sanity, a small, smoky, and deeply unreliable clay oil lamp. It is time to descend. The journey is a vertical one, down a narrow, brick-lined shaft that seems to plunge into the very bowels of the earth. The only way down is a series of rusted iron rungs, set into the slimy, wet brick of the shaft wall. The rungs are slick with a greasy, foul-smelling film, and you must hold on with all your strength. You begin your descent, and with every rung, the world is transformed. The first thing to vanish is the light. The brilliant white light of the Roman sun is quickly consumed by the darkness. The square of blue sky above you shrinks from a window to a small, bright coin, and then it is gone completely. You are now in a world of absolute, profound, and claustrophobic blackness, a darkness that is broken only by the small, flickering, and pathetic flame of your own oil lamp. The second thing to vanish is the sound, the loud, chaotic, and vibrant sounds of the city, the rumble of the iron-wheeled carts, the shouts of the merchants, the chatter of the crowds. All of it fades away, replaced by a new and deeply unsettling soundscape. It is the sound of the underworld. It is the slow, thick, and constant gurgling of a great, unseen river. It is the echo of your own ragged breathing in the narrow, confined space. And it is the soft, constant, and sinister drip, drip, drip of unseen liquids from the walls of the shaft. And the third and most powerful transformation is the smell. The familiar, if often unpleasant, smells of the Roman street are replaced by a single, concentrated, and unbelievably foul stench. It is the collected, concentrated, and fermenting smell of the waste of 1,000,000 people. It is the smell of 1,000,000 kitchens, 1,000,000 latrines, all of it channeled into this single subterranean river. It is a physical, choking, and almost solid presence. A smell so powerful you can almost taste it. A foul miasma that coats the back of your throat and makes your eyes water. You finally reach the bottom of the ladder. You take a final, deep breath of the slightly less foul air of the shaft, and you step off the last rung. Your feet do not land on solid ground. They plunge into a liquid, but it is not water. It is a thick, warm, viscous, and lumpy slurry, the consistency of a cold, thick soup. It is waist-deep. The feeling of this foul, unseen liquid closing around your legs and your waist is a new and profound kind of horror. You hold your small oil lamp aloft. Its weak, flickering light casts a tiny, pathetic circle of yellow in the immense, stinking darkness. And you see where you are. You are standing in the Cloaca Maxima, the great sewer of Rome. It is a place of monstrous and terrible beauty. You are in a vast, vaulted, and perfectly constructed brick tunnel, a testament to the genius of Roman engineering. It is a great subterranean cathedral stretching away into the darkness in both directions. But the river that flows through this cathedral is a river of pure, unadulterated, and unimaginable filth. You stand there, waist-deep in the slow-moving, gurgling river of waste, in the absolute, silent darkness of the city's own gut. The foreman's voice, a distant, echoing shout from the world of light and of air, drifts down the shaft. There is a blockage, somewhere to the west. Find it and clear it, and do not take all day. You take a deep breath of the foul, methane-heavy air. You take your simple iron scraping tool in your hand, and you take your first, slow, sucking, and deeply, profoundly disgusting step forward into the river of waste. Your final and perhaps most horrifying job has just begun. You are in the belly of the beast. The city of Rome, a great, living, and breathing organism, is a mile above you, but you are in its gut, its great, dark, and ever-working intestine. Your job is to walk this foul, subterranean river and to ensure that it continues to flow, that the great city above does not choke on its own magnificent and unending filth. The journey begins. You take another step, then another, wading through the slow-moving, waist-deep river of waste. The physical effort is immense. The liquid is not water. It is a thick, heavy, and viscous slurry, a kind of foul, organic mud that clings to your legs and creates a powerful, sucking drag with every single step. Your feet, protected only by your crude wooden clogs, sink into the soft, silty bottom. A layer of what you know is 1,000 years of settled and decomposed human history. And with every step, you feel things, Unseen, soft, and lumpy objects bump and nudge against your submerged legs in the darkness. You try not to think about what they are. A discarded piece of a butcher's offal? The rotting carcass of a cat? A sodden, heavy bundle of rags? Your mind, a prisoner in this absolute darkness, is a fertile ground for the most horrific imaginings. You hold your small, clay oil lamp high, its flickering, pathetic flame casting a tiny, wavering, and deeply inadequate circle of light. The light does not bring comfort. It only serves to illuminate the true, surreal horror of your environment. You are in a vast, vaulted, and beautifully constructed tunnel of Roman brick, a masterpiece of engineering. But the river that flows through it is a gallery of the city's refuse. You see things float past you in the slow, dark current. You see the bones from 1,000 Roman dinners, the great knuckle end of a cow's femur, the delicate, picked clean skeleton of a fish. You see the rotting peels of vegetables and the spoiled husks of fruit. And sometimes you see the unmistakable, bloated, and pale form of a dead rat, its small body turning slowly in the current, its journey through the city's underworld now at an end. And you are not alone in this darkness. This is not a dead world. It is a thriving and vibrant ecosystem of filth. This is the kingdom of the rats. You see them everywhere. They are not the small, timid creatures of the world above. They are large, sleek, and bold, their fur a wet and glistening black. You see their small, intelligent, and ruby-red eyes, reflecting the light of your lamp from the ledges and the pipe openings that line the walls of the great sewer. You can hear their constant, confident, and chittering sounds, a language of the darkness that seems to mock your own fragile human presence. They are the true masters of this domain, and you are merely a trespasser in their kingdom. You press on, your mind a strange mixture of terror and a kind of grim, professional focus. You are here for a reason. You are here to find a blockage. You look for the signs. You watch the flow of the current. You look for a place where the slow-moving river of waste becomes even slower, where the level of the filth begins to rise. After what feels like an eternity of this slow, disgusting waiting, you see it. Ahead of you, the level of the sewage is a good foot higher than where you are standing. The current has slowed to an almost complete standstill. You have found it. You wade forward, the foul, warm liquid now rising up to your chest. Your lamp illuminates the source of the problem. A great, tangled, and almost solid mass of the city's debris has become wedged between the two great stone pillars that support a junction in the tunnel. It is a dam, a beaver's dam from hell. You get closer, and you can see its composition. It is a foul and tangled nest of discarded wooden timbers from some construction site, of great, waterlogged bundles of rags, of the carcasses of several dogs, and of 1,000 other unidentifiable pieces of the city's waste, all of it bound together by a thick, fibrous mass of human hair and rotting vegetation. And behind this great dam of filth, the pressure is building. The river of waste, which should be flowing freely out into the Tiber, is backing up. You know that if you do not clear this blockage, the sewage will begin to rise up through the drains and the latrines, and it will flood the streets and the cellars of the city above. Your disgusting, dangerous, and thankless job is the only thing that stands between the magnificent city of Rome and a tide of its own self-produced pestilence. You stand before the great, stinking, and solid blockage. You have found the problem. Now, the most dangerous part of your job must begin. You must dismantle this mountain of filth with your bare hands and your simple iron scraping tool, all while the immense, silent, and ever-growing pressure of the city's own waste builds behind it. You take a deep breath of the foul, methane-heavy air a breath that is a poison in itself. You plant your feet as firmly as you can in the sucking, silty muck of the sewer floor, and you prepare to engage with the river of waste directly. You stand before the great, stinking, and solid dam of filth, a monument to the city's own magnificent and unending waste. The foreman's order from the world of light and air still echoes in your mind. Find it and clear it. You are a man of the lowest station, but you are a professional. You have a job to do. You take your simple iron tool, a long-handled scraper that is a kind of crude, heavy-duty hoe, and you begin your assault. The work is a slow, disgusting, and incredibly strenuous process of deconstruction. You use the hook of your tool to latch onto a great, sodden bundle of what looks like discarded rags and clothing, all tangled together into a fibrous, unyielding mass. You plant your feet in the sucking muck of the sewer floor, and you pull, throwing your entire body's weight into the effort. The bundle resists. It is wedged tight. You pull again, a great, grunting physical exertion, and with a slow tearing sound, a section of it comes free. You then must use your own bare hands. You reach into the foul, warm slurry, and you grab the slimy, waterlogged timbers that form the main structure of the dam. The wood is heavy, and its surface is covered in a slick, greasy film of pure, indescribable filth. You work to dislodge one of the beams, your muscles straining, your mind a blank, focused void. You cannot think about what you are touching. You cannot think about the smell. You cannot think about the 1,000 different kinds of human misery and waste that have contributed to the object in your hands. You must become a simple machine, a tool for clearing filth. But this job is not just disgusting. It is a constant, multi-front war against a host of different and very real dangers. The first, and most immediate, is the danger of the flash flood. You are working in the main artery of the city's drainage system, and you know that at any moment, without any warning, a great and powerful surge of water could come rushing down this tunnel. It could be a sudden, violent rainstorm on the streets above, a deluge of water pouring into the drains. Or it could be something as simple and as mundane as the keepers of one of the great public baths deciding to pull the plug on a massive, Olympic-sized pool of used bathwater. You are working your back to the current when you hear it, a low, distant, and almost imperceptible rumbling from deep within the tunnel ahead. Your head snaps up. Your heart seizes in your chest. Is it a flood? You have a fraction of a second to react. You drop your tool and you lunge for the iron rungs of the maintenance shaft, your hands finding a desperate purchase on the slimy metal. You cling there, your body pressed against the cold, wet brick, and you wait. Your entire being a single, taut nerve of pure animal terror. The rumbling grows louder, and then a great dark wave of water, a surge from some unknown source, rushes past you, the force of it a powerful, violent blow against your submerged legs. But it is not the great drowning wave you had feared. The surge passes. Your heart slowly, painfully, resumes its normal rhythm. You have survived. This time. The second great danger is the air itself. The thick, foul stench of the sewer is not just a smell, it is a poison. You know from the stories of the older workers of the danger of the bad air. Pockets of an invisible, odorless, and flammable gas, the gas you know as methane, can accumulate in these unventilated tunnels. You know of men who have been working, whose simple, open-flamed oil lamp has ignited one of these pockets, resulting in a sudden, violent, and searing flash of fire that burns the skin from the bone. The flame of your own lamp, your only source of light, begins to sputter, its yellow flame turning a strange, ghostly blue. It is the sign of the bad air, You must retreat. You must slowly, carefully back away, your heart in your throat, praying that your small, beautiful, and life-giving flame does not, in the next second, become the spark of your own fiery death. And then there is the constant, the invisible, and the most certain danger of all, the threat of disease. You are not just wading through filth, you are marinating in it. You are a living sponge, soaking in a perfect, warm, and endlessly renewed soup of every single sickness and plague in the great cosmopolitan city of Rome. Every small cut on your hands from a sharp piece of rubble, every scrape on your legs, is a wide-open gateway for a billion microscopic assassins to enter your bloodstream. You know that even if you survive the flood, even if you survive the fire, you will almost certainly, one day, be taken by the fever, by the dysentery, by the cholera, by the slow, wasting sickness that is the inevitable price of working in this place. But you continue your work, because to do this job, a job that is a constant, intimate negotiation with a dozen different kinds of death, you must be a man who is so desperate that the small, uncertain promise of tomorrow is worth the almost certain risk of today. After what feels like an eternity of this terrible, dangerous labor, you manage to loosen the key log in the great dam of filth. With a deep groaning and sucking sound, the blockage gives way. The great spring pushes toward the man. This is where people say, almost anything goes. The man that is between death and filth, more likely than the man that is dangerous. All you can think of is a brother or a sister, and then the blockage gives way. The great thing commences to be a slaughter. Pent-up river of sewage surges forward in a sudden, powerful, and almost overwhelming wave of pure liquid waste. It is a tide of filth, and it almost sweeps you off your feet. You cling to the ladder, your body buffeted by the foul torrent, as the city of Rome finally, and with a great, relieved sigh, completes its great daily act of excretion. The blockage is cleared. The river is flowing freely once more. You are left standing in the tunnel, drenched from head to toe in a substance that defies description, shivering not just from the cold, but from the sheer, profound, and violating nature of your work. You have done your job. You have saved the city from its own filth. And in doing so, you have exposed yourself to 100 different and very personal ways to die. The great, pent-up river of the city's waste has been unleashed. The blockage is cleared. You cling to the slimy iron rungs of the maintenance ladder as the last of the foul torrent rushes past you in the darkness, and then the flow of the Cloaca Maxima returns to its usual slow, thick, and gurgling pace. You have survived the most dangerous part of your job. The risk of the sudden violent flood is, for the moment, over. You are left in the aftermath, a shivering, drenched, and utterly filthy creature. Your body a testament to your recent battle. You are covered from head to toe in a slick, greasy, and unimaginably foul film of pure liquid waste. But your work is not yet done. The foreman's order was to clear the blockage. That was the official part of your job. Now, the unofficial, the secret, and the only part of the job that truly matters to you begins. This is the reason you endure this hell. It is the reason any man would willingly descend into the stinking, subterranean world of death and disease. It is the hunt for treasure. Your entire mindset shifts. You are no longer a simple laborer, a tool of the city's sanitation. You are now a prospector, a treasure hunter, a man sifting through the detritus of 1,000,000 lives in the desperate hope of finding a single, small, and glittering piece of forgotten wealth. You take your long-handled iron scraper, your rutrum, but it is no longer a tool for demolition. It is now a rake. You hold your oil lamp in one hand, its flickering, pathetic light casting a tiny, wavering circle on the dark, moving surface of the filth, and you begin to search. The process is a slow, methodical, and deeply disgusting one. You are not looking for things on the surface. The real treasures, the heavy ones, sink. You must probe the very bottom of the sewer, the thick, soft, and silty layer of settled muck that is 1,000 years of accumulated history. You use your tool to gently rake through the sludge, feeling for any unnatural resistance. And then you must use your hands. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself against your own revulsion, and you plunge your bare arm up to the elbow into the warm, thick, and lumpy slurry of the sewer. You are searching by feel. Your fingers sift through the soft, clinging muck. You feel the smooth, rounded shapes of water-worn stones. You feel the sharp, unsettlingly familiar shapes of discarded animal bones. You feel the soft, fibrous mass of what might be a bundle of rotted cloth. It is a blind, tactile exploration of a world of pure, repulsive filth. For a long time, you find nothing. It is a lottery, a game of pure dumb luck. Most days, you find only the mundane refuse of the city, a broken piece of pottery, a discarded leather shoe. But the hope, the faint, desperate, and intoxicating hope of finding something more is what keeps you going. And then, you feel it. Your fingers sifting through the soft, silty bottom, close around something small, hard, and distinctly, wonderfully metallic. It is not a rock. It is too smooth. It is too regular. Your heart, which has been a slow, steady drum of weary endurance, gives a single, sharp, and exhilarating thump. With a movement that is as close to excitement as you have allowed yourself to feel all day, you pull your hand from the muck. You bring your closed fist up into the faint, wavering light of your oil lamp. You open your fingers. Lying in the center of your filthy, sludge-covered palm is a small, dark, and almost black object. It is a coin, a simple, bronze as, the lowest denomination of Roman currency, dropped by a clumsy hand in the marketplace above and washed down into this dark kingdom. It is almost worthless. It is perhaps enough to buy a single small loaf of bread. But it is not nothing. You have been paid. You quickly, furtively, wipe the coin on your loincloth and tuck it into a small, secret leather pouch you keep tied there. You glance up at the dark, distant square of light that is the manhole, hoping the foreman is not watching. This treasure is yours, not the city's. The small victory gives you a renewed sense of purpose. You plunge your hands back into the filth. You continue your slow, blind search. You are a pearl diver, but your ocean is a river of human waste. Minutes pass. You find another small coin, and then another. It is a good day. And then your searching fingers touch something different. It is not the flat, rough circle of a bronze coin. It is spin. It is circular. And it is smooth. You pull it from the sludge. You wipe it clean, and in the pathetic, flickering light of your lamp, you see the unmistakable, soft, and deeply, wonderfully beautiful gleam of gold. It is a ring. A simple, small, golden ring. Perhaps one that slipped from the oiled finger of a wealthy woman as she was washing her hands in her villa, 1,000 lifetimes away, in the world of light and air above you. And you are filled with a surge of pure, triumphant, and almost savage joy. The stench of the sewer, the crushing darkness, the constant, gnawing fear of disease and of death, it all vanishes in an instant. This single, small object is worth more than you could earn in a year of honest, back-breaking labor in the sun. This is the jackpot. This is the moment that makes the entire horrifying ordeal of your job worthwhile. You clutch the golden ring in your fist. Your shift is nearing its end. You have faced the floods. You have faced the fire. You have faced the disease. You have done your disgusting, dangerous work, and you have been rewarded. You begin your slow, triumphant wade back towards the difted, beckoning light of the ladder shaft, the small, hard, and secret weight of the gold ring, a warm, comforting, and magical presence against your skin. You have found your glimmer of treasure in the river of waste. And you know, with a certainty that is both a comfort and a curse, that you will be back, down here in the darkness, to try your luck again tomorrow. You emerge from the sewer, climbing the last of the slimy iron rungs and stepping out of the dark, stinking underworld and back into the brilliant, blinding light of the Roman sun. You are a creature reborn, blinking in a world that now seems impossibly bright, loud, and clean. You are covered in a filth that will take days to truly wash away, but your secret pouch is heavy with the small, beautiful, and undeniable weight of your treasure. You have survived, and you have profited. And here we leave you, the sewer hunter, the last of our Roman workers. We have journeyed through 4 different kinds of hell, each one a vital and necessary cog in the great, magnificent, and brutal machine of Rome. We stood in the absolute darkness of a Spanish silver mine, and we witnessed the slow, anonymous, and crushing death of the Damnatus ad Metella, and we now understand that every single, beautiful silver denarius that passed through the hands of a senator in the Forum, the very coin that our sewer hunter might find in the muck, was minted from a metal that was paid for with the slow, agonizing price of a man's lungs. We stood in the roaring, chaotic inferno of a burning tenement in the Suburra, and we felt the desperate, violent, and often futile struggle of the vigils. And we now understand that the great, magnificent, marble-faced temples and the safe, stone-built villas of the wealthy stood tall and proud only because they were protected by a living firebreak of cheap, flammable, wooden slums and the anonymous, unmourned bodies of the hundreds of poor souls who were consumed by the flames. We stood on the hot, sun-drenched, and blood-soaked sand of the Colosseum, and we felt the terror and the strange, desperate hope of the gladiator. And we now understand that the peace of the city, the famous Pax Romana, was maintained not just by the legions on the frontiers, but by the spectacle of his public, ritualized death. His violent end was a form of political theater, a brutal and effective tool to keep the great restless mob of Rome entertained, pacified, and subdued. And finally, we waded through the stinking subterranean river of the Cloaca Maxima, and we now understand that the very health of this great city, its miraculous ability to house 1 million people without immediately succumbing to a tide of its own pestilence, was made possible by the quiet, disgusting, and unspeakable labor of the man who walked in its filth. This was the great, terrible, and unspoken price of empire. The glory of Rome, its art, its laws, its architecture, its peace, its very existence. It was all built upon a vast and unacknowledged foundation of these dangerous, brutal, and thankless jobs. The comfort of the few was purchased every single day by the profound and almost unimaginable suffering of the many. We too live in a world of dangerous jobs. We have our own miners, our own firefighters, our own entertainers who risk their bodies for our amusement, our own sanitation workers who toil in the hidden infrastructure of our cities. But the world we inhabit is protected by a great, invisible, and almost magical shield. A shield that was forged over 2,000 years of scientific progress, of social struggle, of a slow and often bloody evolution of thought. Our miner does not descend into the darkness with a simple oil lamp and a prayer. He descends with a helmet, with electric light, with breathing apparatus, and with the protection of 1,000 safety regulations that, however imperfect, are a world away from the Roman indifference to a slave's life. Our firefighter does not face an inferno with a leather bucket and an axe. He faces it with a fire-retardant suit, with a breathing mask, with high-pressure hoses, and with a deep, scientific understanding of the behavior of a fire. Our modern gladiators, our athletes and our performers, may risk their bodies, but they are not slaves. They are free men and women, with rights, with contracts, with a voice. And our sanitation worker is protected by the profound, life-saving, and utterly revolutionary knowledge of the germ theory of disease. The greatest difference between our world and theirs is not our technology. It is our knowledge. We have named the invisible killers, the silica dust, the carcinogens in the smoke, the bacteria in the filth. And in the naming of these monsters, we have found the power to begin to fight them. The relative safety of our modern life is a luxury that was bought and paid for by the suffering and the anonymous deaths of 100 generations of the men we have just witnessed. And so, we leave the dark and dangerous world of the Roman worker behind. We leave them to their fates, to be crushed by the earth, to be consumed by the fire, to be killed on the sand, or to be slowly poisoned by the filth. They were not heroes. They were not famous. But they, and millions like them, were the true and forgotten foundation upon which the greatest empire in the world was built. And now, as our journey ends, it is time to appreciate the quiet, boring, and magnificent safety of our own time. Time to be grateful for the regulations, for the technology, and for the simple, profound luxury of a job that is not a death sentence. It is time to rest, free from the fear of the collapsing mine, of the roaring fire, and of the bloody sand. Time to sleep,